Students, here we are going to study about one of the major landforms, plains. What are plains? Plains, which are also called lowlands. Why are they called lowlands? Because they do not have any height. Plains or lowlands are vast, nearly flat expanses of land. They are very vast. The area which they cover is lot more than any other landform on the earth. Plains. They are lowlands and they are vast and they are nearly flat. Nearly flat means because they are usually less than 200 meters above the sea level. Plateaus start from 300 meters above the sea level. So whatever landform which is below that level, that is 300, below 300 level, is called a plain. Up to the plains are basically less than 200 meters above the sea level. Now, how are plains formed? Plains can be formed by again two movements which we discussed earlier, the endogenic movements and the exogenic forces. Now, again, we will repeat what the endogenic movements are. The movement or collision in the tectonic plates cause the sea floor to rise and appear on the surface. That means when there is a movement in the tectonic plates under the level of sea, it makes the land appear. That means the land rises because of the movement of this tectonic plates. The land rises above the sea level, and basically these are the plains which are called coastal plains because they occur near the sea or oceans. Sea floor, the land which is under the water, is forced to rise because of the movement in the tectonic plates. Exogenic forces, again, it means the agents of erosion and agents of deposition. So with these agents we have two types of plains which are formed. From the agents of erosion, that means the rivers, the wind, the rain and ice. The agent is here rivers. When the rivers flow down the mountains, they bring with them alluvium. What is alluvium? Alluvium means the sediments. The sediment, the rock particles, the sand, clay, everything which it takes from the mountains, it brings it down. So these are the agents of erosion, and when these alluvium or sediments settle down, they form plains. Secondly, these sediments can also be transported from one place to another. Maybe in the depressions, these sediments are transported by the agents of deposition in the depressions. What are the agents of deposition? Moving ice, water and wind. These are basically when they bring down the sediments with them, the agents of erosion, and then they deposit it somewhere else where the land is little lower. So these are the agents of deposition, and which again form a depositional plain. Now the types of plains on the basis of formation. We can say that on the basis of formation we have mainly three types of plains, which are structural plains, which can also be called as coastal plains. Then we have erosional plains and we have depositional plains. Structural or coastal plains can be formed by endogenic movements, which we have read here right now. These are the plains which, again I will repeat, these are the plains which are formed by the movement of tectonic plates, which causes the sea floor or the land under the water to rise up and appear on the surface. So these are the structural or coastal plains. Basically these are found near the ocean, near the borders of the continents, near the seas and water bodies, oceans. Next we have erosional plains. Erosional plains can also be called river plains because these are formed by the agents of erosion, that is wind, rivers, rain and ice. These agents of erosion bring down with them alluvium. So the plains which are formed by the erosion, that means the mountains have been eroded by the river. The mountains have been eroded. Their level, their height will be reduced. And this is basically called the erosional plain because they have been formed after the erosion. Then we have depositional plains which are formed basically after the deposition. These the eroded material, firstly the mountains or plateaus which are eroded by the rivers form erosional plains. And where does this alluvium and sediments go? These alluvium or sediments are transported to some other place in some depression areas. So these sediments deposit here in the depressions. So these depressions also fill up. So these are called depositional plains. Erosional plains means when the river bring down the sediments, with it the eroded material deposits here. So the mountain or plateau which gets eroded can form erosional plains, and the sediments which get deposited in the depressions and the places with lower level below the sea level, they are called depositional plains. They are basically formed by exogenic forces. Now children, we will turn to the types of plains which we can see here. Some main points of each type of plain we will read here. Structural plains near the coast of sea or ocean. They are formed near the coast of a sea or ocean. As I told you before, the land below the sea rises up and appears on the surface. So that's how structural plains are formed. They are formed because of the endogenic movements. They are very flat and broad. Waves bring sediments and make them broader and flatter. Now, as you all know, the waves in oceans and seas are non-stop. They will never stop. So, whatever sediments they bring along with them, the sediments will get deposited on the structural plains, that is the near the sea or coastal plains, and they will become broader as well as flatter. The examples are coastal plains of southeast USA, plains of North Russia, and central lowlands of Australia. Second, we have here erosional plains. They are formed due to the erosion of mountains, hills, and plateaus. As I told you, by the agents of erosion, basically they are river, wind, ice. These are the agents of erosion which bring down the sediments, and these landforms get lowered in height, and they gradually form plains in millions and millions of years. Remember children, no landform can be formed as quickly. They take millions and millions of years to form. Second point here says that they are caused by various agents of erosion, because the river, the wind have eroded the sediments from these landforms. They will form erosional plains. Examples are plains of North Canada, plains of Northern Europe, and plains of Kashmir, which is in India. Then we have depositional plains. These are formed due to sediments brought down by natural agents of deposition on a large scale. This means that whatever sediments were eroded from mountain, hills, and plateaus, it gets deposited in the lower levels of the land, that is, the depressions in the land, and they form depositional plains. They are renewed every time by the constant deposition of alluvium. Rivers keep flowing through the mountains and hills and plateaus, and they will bring down the sediments with them. So these sediments are constantly being deposited on the plains, and this depositional plain can get renewed every time it happens, and thus their fertility increases. The examples are northern plains of India, Amazon plains, and Mississippi plains.